Now, did you know that 40% of the total amount of plastic manufactured globally, all plastic this is, 40% of it is single-use plastic packaging? Think about that for a moment as you think of all the plastic in the world. Now, if you've ordered stuff online over the last couple of years, you almost certainly would have received it in a plastic satchel. If it came in a box, it was probably surrounded and protected by plastic. Global e-commerce generated more than 1.6 billion kilos of plastic waste last year alone. And a stunning amount of that is ending up in landfill. What if you could make your online orders and then compost your packaging in your garden? Yep, chuck it in with your veggie scraps. Joining me tonight with a good news story are a couple of brothers whose company wants to revolutionise the way we package our goods. I've got Adam Sarfati and Ace Sarfati joining me. Adam, hello.
Hey, Bernard, thank you for the great intro.
Yeah, and hello, Ace.
Hey, thanks for this.
Now, you started this company. What was the aha moments? Who can answer that one best?
So I guess it was probably receiving another online delivery for the 100th time with layers and layers of plastic and sort of realising that I couldn't recycle it and I had to go in the bin.
And you thought to yourself, something has to be done about this. Both of you have got a background, though, in e-commerce. So how did that contribute, Ace?
Yeah, well, in 2018, I founded a company called Threadheads, which is a pop culture clothing brand. And then basically we founded Heapsgood because we saw how many mailers we were sending out to customers that were made from polyplastic that couldn't be recycled, couldn't be composted, and basically would end up in landfill. So that was sort of the impetus for starting Heapsgood with my brother.
Yeah. I have actually seen the packaging that you've come up with. I didn't realise that, what it was, or I'd bought something at a local art gallery, in fact, and they, normally when you buy something that's quite precious, this was a pottery piece. Ordinarily, it would come in something that I can have a little bit of fun with, and I think we all know this, the classic bubble wrap.
Oh, no.
The thing was, I found that I was having fun with the wrap that this pottery cup came in. So how did you come up with this? What do you call it? Is it hex wrap?
Hex wrap.
Hex wrap.
It's called hex wrap, and I'd say that's the only negative. It's the only thing that's not as good as bubble wrap. It doesn't have the, the fun of popping, but all the other environmental
I don't know.
benefits.
It's got the fun. It's got the fun of stretching.
Yes,
it does.
Am I the only one who's stretching it? You stretch it out and then you bring it back in. Yeah,
it gets a lot of viral attention online.
So how did you make it? How do you do that?
So look, it's essentially paper, and it's a roll of paper that has these hexagons, I guess, well, not hexagons, but little slits in it which then expand and they, provide cushioning to the product, and also actually because you can wrap them and you don't sort of need to use tape. They sort of interlock.
Yeah, it seems to. I actually kept it rather than putting it in compost. I hung on to it. I haven't used it again yet because
that's awesome.
Oh, that'll be really cute. I could wrap something else in that. That's really. I almost thought it was pretty because it was almost wrapping in its own self rather than having.
It definitely has that effect. Yeah.
To rewrap it again. So, is there any sort of technically speaking about how it works? Because I know you said, it's basically just paper, but it has to be able to protect something. It has to have the ability that bubble wrap and other plastic wrap has. How did you make that work?
So I think it's the way that it expands that really sort of, provides that pushing. And what we did that was maybe a little bit different to sort of other consumers was, or people selling the product, was make a version that was a little bit smaller and a little bit, that came with a dispenser. So it was easily dispensable and I guess perfect for smaller to medium e-commerce businesses.
Tell me a bit about the sustainable packaging industry in Australia. How big or small is it? What role do you guys play? What's going on out there?
Well, I think we want to play a focused role in sustainable packaging. Rather than trying to solve all of the problems in packaging, we want to hone in on e-commerce, and that's been our focus. So obviously the last 2 years of lockdowns, there's, it's accelerated e-commerce. And now some permanent consumer trends have been established as a result. So consumers are demanding these products right now. Sustainability is a big factor for online shoppers, especially the younger generation who are more tuned in to environmental issues. Hotter climate, more frequent weather events, microplastics entering our food chain, the list goes on. So many people want to shop from a brand that offers sustainable packaging. So as a business owner, you want to make your customers feel good when they receive a package. And so we made these alternatives that essentially the market is demanding.
And I've quoted that figure before, which is pretty astounding. I know it's a global figure, so this is the entire world. But 1.6 billion kilograms of plastic waste just in e-commerce. Just in e-commerce. And
we have an analogy for that one. It's 268,000 fully grown elephants. So in 1 year. And then
how many? Sorry, tell me again. How many elephants is that?
268,000.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's quite significant. And then Australia spent around 62 billion in online retail last year. So most of that packaging is ending up in landfill. There's no recyclable or compostable options, or very little at the moment. So this is all starting now, and we're sort of at the forefront of that.
Yeah, it's starting, but I always wonder, because you do hear of really great ideas and they don't end up going the distance.
Yeah.
And of course, we hear of fantastic ideas that do. At one stage, someone thought bubble wrap was a fantastic idea, and for many, many years, it was. It protected things. We had fun with it when we were popping it. But we realise now that it is absolutely not the way we can continue wrapping things.
That's the point with plastic, though. I mean, it works. It definitely has great utility. The problem is the environmental consequence that comes from that. The fact that it doesn't break down without waste. So I think, or without toxicity. So I think that now we're only realizing it's actually quite, a recent development, just how insidious plastic pollution is, and how it's ending up in the furthest reaches of our planet.
So how does it go from, we know there's a problem, obviously there are people making money with the current solutions in terms of the plastic solutions.
Yep.
How do you go from this step to, in a shorthand way, saying taking over?
Well, I think the first thing is just how consumers demand it. That's what's transforming e-commerce for us. The reason anyone wants to buy hex wrap instead of bubble wrap is because other consumers are actually seeing that is something that they want to open their packaging with. They want to receive their products in hex wrap instead of bubble wrap. So I think it starts with the consumer, and then businesses become aware of that, and they respond as well. So I think a lot of purpose-led businesses are actually the ones making more money in 2022 and beyond, because suddenly it's an intersection of economic, social, and environmental value. It's not just about making money anymore. It's what's the best solution, not just for the people, but also the planet.
You're hearing from brothers Adam and Ace Sarfati. They're co-founders of Heapsgood Packaging. They're a sustainable packaging company, and they're making compostable products for e-commerce. Do you have a problem, though, on your side as well, if this is made out of paper? And we're all, we even have discussions around, should we be using as much paper and trees, etc. Like, at some point, we are making an impact on the earth. What's your impact?
Yeah, look, it's a really good question. I think the simple answer is none of the products are perfect. And in a single-use society, or with any single-use product, there is probably no perfect answer. What the alternatives that we are providing our customers with are better. And I think some of the things that we were doing as we sort of go down the path and the figure as a company is full, product life cycle assessments, and really working out if there are any sort of weaknesses in the chain in those products as well.
And in terms of the supply chain and all of that, air miles, whatever it might be, how do you monitor all of that yourselves? And because that's another thing consumers are demanding now.
It's a huge thing for greenhouse gases. As we know, due to the energy used to power transportation being reliant on fossil fuels, we have a situation where I think we want to bring manufacturing as much as possible closer to the consumer. And so it's in our industry that can kind of happen. It's harder for industries like fashion and apparel, for example, because it's quite labor intensive. But for Heapsgood and for sustainable packaging, it's not quite as labor intensive. So Australia can be competitive. And if it's closer, it's better for the environment and also more affordable for the business. So we're actually able to source many of our products from Australia now.
And have you got anything else in the pipeline? I know we've talked a lot about hex wrap and obviously bubble wrap, but that's the one that I think a lot of people can relate to, particularly in online purchases. Even though it might, sometimes it's not even the classic bubble wrap anymore. It's like those big air-filled capsules almost, aren't they? I don't know what they call those. They make a bigger pop again. What else?
They do, and I've seen some compostable versions of that. Look, we're definitely working, and that's sort of, I guess, my side of the business and what I focus on. Definitely working on lots of exciting products. We've got a bubble mailer coming out, and then also just expanding the range. But it is really exciting. There's a lot of stuff going on in the way of textiles and sustainable materials as well. So we're starting to explore things like hemp and having a look at mycelium foams and leathers. And there's some really great companies out there. A company called Living Ink, which is making sustainable ink, essentially a carbonless ink from algae. So there's a lot of really cool things happening that we're sort of exploring and looking at really closely.
Wow, making ink from algae.
Yeah, totally carbonless, which is the first of its kind, because ink always otherwise has carbon, which is a negative for the planet.
So interesting what people are doing out there. You guys are part of it as well. Adam and Ace Sarfati, a couple of brothers, doing good with Heapsgood and getting together with others to use sustainable packaging. Nice to have you on Nightlife.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having us. We've got a crowdfund on Birchall at the moment, so definitely get involved and own a piece of Heapsgood.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Good on you. Cheers. Nice to talk to you.
Celebrate 50 years of Australian country music